Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the spacer plate. The spacer plate is in English units, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the standard part file, and I'm going to start my 2D sketch. Make sure you select on the XY plane. That's going to put us on the XY plane with the origin right there in the middle. And remember, when you create your sketch, I like to go ahead and tie it back to my origin from the beginning. That way I don't have to lock it down when I'm trying to fully constrain the part. So keeping with the methods of drawing in Chapter 2, I'm just going to go ahead and sketch this part out using my geometric constraints now as part of the sketch, and then I'm going to go back and constrain it with the dimensions afterwards. So I'm going to click on Dimension, pick the line, specify the height, pick the overall length and height for this. It makes it a lot easier if you just go ahead and start with those dimensions and make those the longer dimensions, apply those dimensions, because then you're not going to have as much stuff overlapping. So I'm just setting all of this up. This line right here is 2.5. Here to here needs to be also 8, so that kind of got messed up. And then from this line to this line needs to be, oops, it's going to over constrain it. I'm going to take that dimension off, this dimension from here to here. And this is a good time to show you how to do some math calculations. So you can say 8, because we're going to quickly look at that. 8 minus 2.5. You can do that basic, those basic math commands. You can even get some other things that are more complicated. Just make sure you use your parentheses when you have a multiple step. But it's nice to be able to type those things in there. You can also use fractions. You just have to make sure you type that in the correct way. So it looks like we've got all of our dimensions here. They're kind of scattered as I was moving those around, but they're all there. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw just my 2 circles. I'm trying to avoid the lines that are popping up like that, because that's going to constrain that circle either to like the midpoint and the end point of that line. So make sure as you select your circle, you're moving into an area that doesn't come up with any of the projection points off of something else. So we just want to kind of throw those out there and make sure they're not locking down to something else. So I'm going to change the diameter for that for 1.5, this one 2.5, and every time you draw a circle, you have 3 pieces of information. You have to give the diameter of the circle, you need to give the X location, and you also need to specify the Y location. So I'm just using the dimensions that have been given and locating. So I've got the diameter for that one. So now let's go to the X. So I'm picking the center of the circle as the reference point, and then center of circle to a line, and then there we go. So that part is now fully constrained. You can see that over in the lower right hand corner. All the lines are black, so we're ready to finish this sketch. Double click scroll button, that takes the zoom extents, and let's hit the extrude. First thing we're going to do is specify the geometry. So remember here, because we have these holes on the inside, it could also pull that information. So I want to point to the outside and highlight that region. And if it doesn't select and go to a solid, go back and check your sketch. You probably have a little opening somewhere, and you want to make sure that that is a solid and completely filled in region. So the distance for this one is, let me look at my drawing here, 0.125. It's a small little piece of metal or plastic or whatever, but it's a very thin object. So type in 0.125, hit OK, and there is our spacer plate. So I'm going to go ahead and save this back to my flash drive, naming it spacer plate. If you do save this as a PDF file, just remember you can go to File, you can go to Export, export PDF, and make sure that you are locating that PDF file in a place that you can find it. So that first Inventor folder just happens to be the very first location for the sorry, I'm trying to read two things. The location for the PDF file is just a default, so I want to just move that over and make sure I'm tucking this away in the correct place. So this is my only PDF file in here, so I'm going to hit save, and that is the PDF file location. That's it.